Okay, so first thing we want to talk about today, the biggest, I guess, thing is around. We've been calling it the closed beta, and or I guess it's for the community pre-orders customers. And I think officially we should just we'll probably change the name of that. I communicated to you guys a few months back that it really isn't a beta at this point. I mean, um, it's really a reward for the community pre-order, and since it's a single player game with some co-op functionality, there is some um, potentially some test data that we get out of it, but it's really more of a marketing item and more of a reward for the pre-order customers. It's a demo. It's an early demo of the game. So that's been the plan. And Matt's giving me the thumbs up. So why don't I'm just sorry for all the interruptions, everybody. Let me switch right over. I'll get right back to where I was. Yeah. Okay. Matt says you can hear me now. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah, we hear you.
Okay, carrying right on. So we have this closed beta or demo coming up. And one of the challenges that we've had where a lot of people were asking, well, is there going to need to be an NDA? Will we be able to stream it? And some of these questions we didn't really know. And it was mostly because we needed to do a lot of, thinking and talking with, our PR firm. And as we finalize the marketing plan, as we approach the release date. And sorry, let me turn off all these little beeps. Okay. And it was challenging because on November 5th, that's still a solid, 5 weeks away from the game's release. And having the demo out there in the hands of everybody and having them stream it 5 weeks out is an eternity nowadays for games and game marketing. You guys may have noticed in recent times. Sure, you'll see some of the bigger games, like Cyberpunk's a good example that has quite a bit of stuff early on, but a lot of games, even big ones, there's not a whole lot early, and the vast majority of their stuff is in that final week, maybe two. And so it's almost impossible, especially for us and size of company we are in our game, to try to think that we can keep up sort of, excitement in a hype machine, marketing for an entire 5 weeks, especially if we're allowing the game to be streamed that early. So in discussion with our PR firm, we were trying to decide what was the most important thing. And since we weren't already getting essentially test data from this, it's really just more of a demo. And we wanted to figure out a way for you guys to be able to stream the demo. So in order to do that, we have come up with a way to let you guys have full freedom on streaming the demo. We just have to push this demo a little later, closer to the release of the game. So the plan is that we're gonna, and I'm sorry you're gonna have to wait a couple weeks longer. We're gonna shift the closed beta demo from November 5th to, which is always really an estimate for us anyhow, but from November 5th to November 26th. So it's 3 full weeks. I'm sorry about that. 3 extra weeks to wait, but the benefit is we're going to be able to do this without any restrictions. So this is really the key here, is that you guys will have, there won't be any NDAs. There won't be any restrictions on streaming, and there won't be any expiration on it either. It won't really matter, of course, because 2 weeks later the full game will be out. But for that reason, it's sounding like the way we'll go about this is it's likely to be a completely separate key, the totally different, download. It'll just kind of be its own demo and kind of live on its own. You guys will be able to play it and stream it without any restrictions whatsoever, and it'll never expire. So that is the news on the demo / closed beta. So yeah, it's pretty cut and dry. I'm not sure what else to say about it. We'll take questions on that in a minute. Let me cover a couple other topics here real quick, and then we can come back to questions. So let's talk just briefly about the party that the tickets went on sale today. So as I think the website posted a pretty good job of making this clear, but I'll just go over some of it. Yeah, this is not MechCon. It's quite clear. this year there was a number of reasons why we didn't do MechCon, and I won't get into all of it, but basically, um, it's this is a it's really more like the Steam launch party we had about 4 years back. It's it's like a staff party, and it's kind of handling a bunch of things. It's first off, we've been working. The by the time we ship this game, there have been at least some staff on it for 4 years. It's been a huge effort, and so it is a launch party, and it's a launch party for the staff. It also happens to be our 20-year anniversary as a company, and that's no small achievement in and of itself. And we had a great time celebrating the 15th anniversary 5 years ago. So we're going to make this kind of a joint thing where we have, it's a MechWarrior 5 launch party. It's a 20-year anniversary, and we're about to go on our Christmas break. So it's going to be a great staff party, and we have an amazing space at the Vancouver Convention Center. It's really gorgeous. It's kind of lucked out there and got this really sweet spot in the entire third floor of that place to ourselves. And we got so much room, and we decided, well, we'd still like to celebrate this with some of the people that have enjoyed our products over the years or want to come just sort of like, you know, hang out and just rub shoulders with us and everything. We're not going to, there won't be any specific events. There'll probably be a small mic moment for myself or something, and there'll be DJ and food and drink, and just there'll be some machines there. You guys have already had the game by then, so that won't be a big draw, but there will be. We're still planning on bringing the super pods at this point in time. Tickets are $25 only just to sort of make sure that those that say they're coming are actually coming. That's really the only reason. We were going to just do free tickets, but we are doing full catering and drinks and everything. So we just wanted to make sure that if someone wants to take a spot, that there's some seriousness to that commitment. That's the only reason we put a $25 price on it. And so those go on sale today, I believe. And if you're able to come, and obviously it's not MechCon, it's not a huge event, so it's going to be less likely that those that are far away will travel. But initially, we're putting 100 tickets up for sale, and we're going to see how that goes. And that's really it. I guess there is one other subject I want to talk about briefly, and it's something that I haven't even decided 100% internally for. I've got a couple guys pitching me on this, and it sounds like there's a chance we'll make this change. So it's another change on the Mech Lab. Basically, they want to allow smaller weapons to fit into larger ones. So what that means is, the easy example is that like a small laser, which is a small energy hardpoint, can go into a medium energy hardpoint or a large energy hardpoint. You can always take a smaller one, and not only can it go into itself, of course, a small energy hardpoint, but it can go into one of the larger ones. Another example would be, you got this Kentaro, and it's running hot with its SRM6s. You now could actually put SRM4s in there because they're smaller ones, and that would allow you to put some more heat sinks in. That's another example. So it doesn't open up like lots and lots more combinations, but it does open up another set of combinations that wouldn't be available before. And the reason we kind of did this is we felt like there were some chassis that would have very, very few options. Like you'd be going medium to medium pulse is kind of about it based on the type of hard points it would have. This would allow a little more flexibility, but still doesn't break any of the other rules of, say, there's still no hard point inflation. So just because you're bringing a small laser up into that medium energy hard point doesn't mean that you can now fit two in there. You just put the one in there, but you can do other things in your mech that if you need to, you go less tons in certain areas, and so you can do other things in other spots. So it is going to add another, X percentage of possibility. So the only reason I haven't decided on it yet is that just, we're really late in the game here. We're trying to finish this game. We're fixing bugs. We're in finaling mode. So making a decision like this, even though it's a fairly small one, and essentially it's kind of like flipping a switch, it's still a big decision. We just want to be sure that this late in the game that we're making the right choice and it's not going to cause bugs. So I've just kind of held off and said, well, when we're done or when we're at this point, then we'll decide. But any day now, we're kind of making the decision. I imagine that the reception would be good, from a player standpoint. So that, I'll look to your comments and questions, but I think that'll this is maybe the last sort of thing I do before I just say, okay, fine, let's do that. So there's the 3 big topics. So I guess really just the only one thing that's downer is 3 extra weeks to wait for the demo. But I hope you guys feel it's really worth it for the fact that it'll be a no restrictions demo, which I think is well worth 3 extra weeks. I think so. You're going to get a much more polished demo experience, and you're going to be able to just stream it and play it with friends, and stream you and your friends playing together and everything. And then you really start. You guys will actually be a part of that, final marketing push, which is great. Okay, so that's it, Tina. Everyone, please make your questions about those things and those subjects. Today, I'm not gonna, make every effort to make sure we go the full hour. This was more of an announcement to make sure you guys understand what's happening here with the demo here in November, now in late November. But I'll definitely answer as many questions as I can that I feel like are associated with these three subjects, and maybe we'll answer a couple general ones, but we're not gonna go crazy over answering every general question that there is. Okay, thank you, and let's go, Tina. Okay,
That's a separate video, not done by me.
what's the weatherman style UI? Oh, that's right. They brought that up last time. I have no idea. I'm gonna ignore that part. Will the game actually come out this year? Yes, it will. Leave it at that. December 10th. Is there going to be a completely randomized game mode where there are no story missions at all, with completely random starting place, mechs, etc.? I guess I think what you're referring to is not instant action, right? Like not that, but having like a career mode that is nothing to do with the storyline. I like the idea, and we've talked about it. It's kind of like, like a free for all mode, or, where you just like, okay, forget about the story missions and the story. You're just travel the inner sphere and just take contracts and just grow very, freely. That's something we could do with our game very easily, but it's not going to be in the game's initial release. I view that as something that we could, possibly decide to leave that up to modders, and that'll be very easy, low hanging fruit. Or maybe if we feel like doing something officially, we'll do that post release, and maybe in the very few short months afterwards, we'll do a patch where it's like, now here's free for all mode, and we just kind of unlock the entirety of it and just let people travel and wander and do 40 years of doing that. So easy to do, not in the initial game's release. How can MechLab still be in development 8 weeks before launch? When is game development locked? Good question. Game development's essentially locked already. We're in bugs. We've been in bugs for quite a while already, which means that very little to no things change at this point. But it's never in any game development does nothing change towards the end. It's just harder and harder and more of a debate. So if someone comes to me and says, look, the way the system's created, we could essentially just flip this switch and then allow small ones to go up, and it's really no work. And then we all sit back and go, I don't know, man. Like, maybe we're locked already. I like the change, but what's the risk level? And you make them justify it again. You debate it and you talk about it, and you think, well, if the risk is low enough, like we don't think this is going to create any bugs, and we think it's better for the game, then those types of choices are made in game development all the time, honestly, right up pretty dang close to release. That's the case with almost any game I've ever seen, ever worked on, and you're always making some decisions like that fairly late, and you try to make it as few as you possibly can, but it's never zero. No, Ghastly, we've talked about this a bunch of times. What content will be available in the demo? Just instant action, or will campaign be available? No, absolutely, there won't be any campaign. I don't want anyone streaming that, giving that away. That's spoiler. That's ridiculous to give away, that much before we release. So, as we've said before, this is just instant action. In fact, I'm not even giving out the create scenario. So the final game will have in instant action. There's basically 2 modes. There's create scenario, where you can literally just go in there and say, here's my difficulty, here's the biome I want, here's the all these other settings, and then just create a scenario, fill out your lance, and go, and it just randomize and play endless numbers of combinations of game modes and biomes and everything like that. Even that is way too much for the demo. That's like might keep the majority of players completely satisfied for months. So no, this is really, we're just gonna, then there's select scenario. That's the part that'll be in the demo. It's like we're gonna hand pick maybe like half a dozen scenarios that are like if you created one of those scenarios I just described, but put that in there as a static situation, then the player can select any one of those 6 and maybe I don't know if it'll be 6, but let's just say 6, and you just play those. And there'll be a number of ways you can play them, and you can take out more tonnage or less tonnage, and take co-op friends or not take co-op friends. And the idea is that you get a really solid taste of what the game feels like, plays like, looks like, and but isn't giving away the whole game. Okay, it's just one of these marketing comments we usually get. 2 months release, lack of knowledge out there. Whether we do whether it be advertisements, ads. We expect ads to appear in sites like Twitch and YouTube. Community made trailer. I can't answer that. There won't be a community made trailer pre-launch. That's a fact. But and I need to probably do a better job of sticking on the 3 topics here, but I'll answer this one. Basically, yes, you will see ads show up on things like Twitch and YouTube and everything. I know it's hard to wait, and I'm sure people can grab some examples to prove me wrong when I say this, but for the most part, even with big games like Borderlands and such, you see probably 90% of that type of stuff happening really in that last 7 to 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. So we're still a little ways out from you guys seeing that type of stuff. There'll be an uptick starting in November, and then certainly by the time we're getting around the close or the demo, see a big uptick in that type of stuff. Can you tell us the total number of MechWarrior 5 refunds? I mean, this is not on topic at all, but I don't want to feel like you think I'm dodging it. It was less than 20% of the community pre-orders, and most of those, I imagine, were, or not most, but a very significant portion of them was, we could tell by the the questions being asked and where the refunds came in, that a lot of them was just because of the no questions asked, keep everything you got, this extreme, like, what am I trying to say here? Generousness of the refund policy. There's a significant number of people that were like, well, okay, neat, I get to keep MechWarrior online content, and I actually need money now more than I need it around December, so I'll just rebuy it in the Epic Games Store. So I think that contributed to even some of those, but it was still a very small minority of the total pre-orders. And again, I'll just say, like, the amount of pre-orders are, I mean, certainly our hope is that the community pre-orders is going to end up being like 1% of total sales. Like it's a very small number, but that's how many we had. So now okay. Looks like this is pretty much all just general questions. So I guess I'll just try to power through these. Here's a question, like really just asking for challenge is, so I do think the game will be challenging. I think one thing we still have to deal with from a balance perspective that we're thinking about is as we finish the game up and we're finalizing it and we feel like it's balanced, we still have one more challenge ahead of us, and that is to kind of make sure we're considering co-op enough, and just how much more powerful and effective a lance is with human players in it, and how we can ramp up the difficulty for that, because you can't just throw 3 times as many enemies at the player, because that just, the frame rate of the computer is not going to handle just, endless enemies. So you have to do it with, with the enemies being more accurate and perhaps having more health. So that's the way we'd probably end up handling that. We haven't quite done that yet. It's a very simple change, just to say, based on how many human players are, this is what the change will be to the enemies. So that's how you'd probably end up being more challenged, is in that regard. Most difficult hurdle or challenge so far. There's a lot of them with a game like this. You're shipping a, what they call a premium product now, just to differentiate it from the, free-to-play products. Oh boy, I don't know. I would say there's a lot of big ones. AI is a challenge. All the procedurally generated stuff was a challenge. optimization and get everything up to performance. It's a challenge. And storyline, big challenge for us too, because we brought in extra help in the last 6 months to bring that home, because it's something that we needed more strength in, coming off of MechWarrior Online. There's a lot of them. Sorry I don't have one that jumps right off of me, because I think there's a bunch that jump right out. I like how Tina. Thank you, Tina, for blocking that one out. It's kind of a dumb question. I'm going to answer it anyhow. Are you actually in a position to release the game in the next 2 years, or is it going to be vaporware like Duke Nukem Forever, my previous project? Well, since you asked, quite proud of the work we did in Duke Nukem Forever. Actually, we had absolutely nothing to do with the first how many 8-10 years.
14 years.
Yeah, 14 years. It's not our game. What happened was once Gearbox Software bought the rights to Duke Nukem Forever from 3D Realms, then they were going to ship it. They came to us with an alpha version of a PC game that we had, we didn't create. We didn't have anything to do with it. And they said, can you port this to Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 and create all the multiplayer for it? And so there was a company inside of Gearbox that actually finished that game, like the PC version, finished Xbox, single player game, and finished it. We did all the porting to the consoles, and we did all the multiplayer. So if you know anything about game development, and you think about a PC game in development for 14 years using some version of Unreal, to some bastardized version of Unreal, and then you think about if you know anything about PlayStation 3, importing said game to PlayStation 3 and creating all the multiplayer for it all in about 18 months time. So we only worked on the game for about 18 months and accomplished both porting a 14-year-old game to 360, PlayStation 3, and creating all the multiplayer for it. So I would say Piranha Games did an exceptional job on Duke Nukem Forever, and that was our involvement in it, and something that we can be really proud of. And yes, it's going to release. MechWarrior 5 is going to release on December 10th. And we do not have a history of being a company that delays things significantly long. Obviously, 1 full year for MechWarrior 5 was significant. That's a massive delay in my books. So that's really the longest we've ever been involved in when it comes to a delay. Will the player be able to eject? No, you may not eject. Mechs you're killing, they're going to eject sometimes. Your pilot, your lance mates, all those guys you'll see eject based on certain circumstances. But you, the player, will not. The player is designed in the single player sense that if your mech is destroyed, then that mission's over. That's not the case if you're in co-op. It's a little different. We wait for the last human player to die, but then there's like a spectate mode in those situations. But you, the player, is not going to eject. Spectre, why don't you just say don't stream till November 26th instead of cutting away the majority of the demo? Well, first off, I don't really view it as cutting away the majority of the demo. The content level of the demo is going to stay the same, and I don't believe for a second there's any way on hell we could ever say don't stream it to the 26th. I don't care how many NDAs were signed. In fact, all I had was people telling me is you better let us stream it. It's just going to get streamed anyhow. Threats that there's really no way to restrict it anyhow. So, and then ultimately it comes down to the main decision is around marketing. It's what's best for the game. Everyone out there wants the game to be, all you big MechWarrior fans anyhow, really want the game. That's why you're always asking me, you're saying, when are you going to market it? When are you going to market it? Where's all the marketing? We want this thing to be successful so it can do well, so there can be more MechWarrior games. Well, part of that process also is making sure that your marketing campaign is not stretched out thin like butter, and then everyone gets a big spike of excitement, and then just everyone forgets about it for 3 weeks, and then you try to bring it back. So that's why I understand there's some frustration. You have to wait a few extra weeks. I appreciate that. I'm sorry about that, but we do feel like this is best for the marketing campaign and for the game and for the game's success. Will there be extended contracts spanning multiple missions? Yes, there will. 2 to 4, I believe, is what we have in the game upon release. Imagine someone could mod that to be as many as they. How big is the map? The Inner Is it full IS, or is it cut down similar to HBS Biotech? No, it's the full map. It's the whole thing. The majority of the game does take place in what we call clusters, but that means like there's like a cluster of stars here and a cluster of stars there, and they kind of there's like 17 or 20 of them or something like that, and they span this kind of circle around the inner sphere. So essentially, you're going to traverse a large portion of the inner sphere during the game, and theoretically and technically, you can click on any planet and fly to it. But the contracts are in the what we call war zones, and then there's the industrial hubs for your repairs. So the meta game's really built. I don't want to give too much away, but I do feel like we've um, we've got something there is pretty intriguing and is pretty interesting, that the actual metagame of flying around and taking contracts and then repairing your mechs and such, that there's something more there than you've seen in past games. So yeah, I think you guys are gonna like that. When we see new videos and graphics, starting in November, you're gonna start seeing. So are you gonna push it back again? No. Same MechWarrior 5 official posters. I guess it means more ads and things like that. Again, starting in November. So release dates. Tina, please doing what you're doing. These are the perfect things to put the little thing on that we're not going to answer it because it's not on topic, but I'm going to answer it for you just to drive the point home. So release date is confirmed for December 10th. Yes, it is. No, you can't get the beta earlier. No, the beta, I answered this at the beginning, it's not for server testing. There are no such things as servers. That's the thing. This is a hosted peer-to-peer game. So think of the game really as a single player game through and through. That happens to have 4-player co-op. And the 4-player co-op is the host inviting someone in a peer-to-peer fashion. So there is no servers. The host is the server. I love how Tina blocks out those ones correctly, but doesn't block out, will there be a kettle in my mech so I can heat water for tea? That's so Tina. No, I'm afraid that feature's not there. I don't want to give this away. Why are we asking what sector you're going to start in? I guess it's not a big giveaway. You're going to start in Davian space. I don't have performance numbers, ray tracing numbers on hand. Sorry, I'm not going to go into that right now. Now, we have stated, I should say, for those, just to set expectations, for those out there, excited about ray tracing cards and have ray tracing cards and everything, I think it's really awesome too, and we're planning on supporting it. But we've been pretty clear. I don't know if we've been public about this, but I think we have been. We've been pretty clear that we brought ray tracing on sort of mid development, and we are also using and relying on the Unreal technology. It's not our own custom technology like Battlefield 1 or Metro and some of the other games that have come out with RTX. So we're using Unreal, and so we committed early on that we would have ray tracing on support in our Leopard hangar, but there was no commitment that we would have ray tracing on in our worlds, because we just started with that. The concept of having ray tracing in our worlds came in pretty late, so that is not ruled out entirely. There could be aspects in the worlds too, but the only aspect that we really committed to was inside the Leopard hangar. Just want to be clear about that, just if people are out there looking for upgrades and buying cards. And I totally recommend getting a great ray tracing capable card if you can. They're awesome cards. But as far as what you should expect MechWarrior 5 to behave, really you're looking at the hangar. First one's about modding. I hate answering these questions because I might get something wrong, because I don't know exactly what people are going to be capable of doing in modding, but I think it's a pretty easy yes on people removing restrictions in the Mech Lab and modding. How many mechs can I own and customize in the campaign? And instant action. Well, instant action is free for all, right? You can go there and you can create your scenarios and invite your friends, or just play with the AI, and you have everything in your Mech Lab, like all the mechs, all the weapons. There's no restrictions at all. In the campaign, you can have 12 active mechs, and that means mechs that are immediately available to swap in and out of your primary lance for going on missions. So essentially 3 lances. And the game is really designed around that concept, I think, more than any past MechWarrior game, that you're the metagame is going to be clearly saying to you that you need to have multiple lances and extra pilots around so that you can go on missions while mechs and pilots are injured, mechs are damaged, and based on other metagame criteria, I don't really want to spoil too much, that you'll be encouraged to have enough capability to take on multiple missions before you do repair and rearm runs. I love all these questions about marketing. Again, marketing happens soon. I know there's some big games out there that have already done, big things, but again, most games are going to be in that final month, even the final couple weeks. So there is an actual marketing team, an actual PR team, and there's an actual marketing budget. And we're certainly spending, like 10 times more money than we've ever spent on marketing. So you're going to see it. And there's official trailers being made by external companies. There's a significant ad spend budget and an influencer budget as well. So yeah, you'll see stuff soon. Again, Bird of Song, I don't think there's going to be any NDAs involved here. As far as the modding and getting the editor, I'm not sure what kind of agreement there might be on that when you download the editor. I can't really answer that, but there's no NDAs for modder tools at release. It's a good question, Rampage. I mean, our intention is still to release the editor upon release. And if it doesn't hit like the day of, it'll be as soon as humanly possible afterwards. It's really just a bit of a process to get your editor packaged up and up on the Unreal Store and downloadable and stuff like that. And it's kind of hard to do that when your game's not done. So it's possible. And I know I still want to have, I want to have at least one more AMA. I'd like it to be about modding, even if it's just basic information like I'm kind of sharing right now about here's when exactly you can expect to get the editor and stuff like that, and a bit of a gist of a general plan. So right now I can say that it's still our intention to get that editor out there upon release, but it could be that getting the game finished and then it's totally finished, packaging up the editor, getting up on the Unreal Store. It definitely is possible that doesn't line up day for day with the game's release. No plans for a demo after the official release of the game. I already talked about the final refund numbers. I didn't need to. Refunds are not going to be opened again. I think we're very generous with the refunds, and it was a very long way. You can expect something on the Mech Lab and in-game stuff in November. In fact, we're making 2 trailers, and one of them specifically about that. So you're going to get to see. There will be a bit of an intro. I'm not going to say anything more than that to give it away, but it's not like the past where it's just purely some sort of like computer rendered, fight like MechWarrior 2, which I thought was awesome. Of course, like the original MechWarrior 2 thing, where it's my beloved summoner and all that. That was great. So I definitely love the question. How many players would play online? 4. It's a 4-player co-op game, so the host can invite 3 friends to play with. How many game types? Well, I mean, this is really even when you're playing co-op, you're playing the single player game essentially. That doesn't mean you're playing the campaign. You can, but instant action is the same game types and game modes that the single player campaign has, because there's no PvP aspect, so you're not going up against other players. So it's all PvE, or player versus the environment. So that means that your defense garrison missions you're doing in the campaign, that's one game type that you can do as co-op friends. Yes, co-op campaign, no clan support. not at release. How come everyone's asking what the final refund numbers are? Do you not feel like I answered that, or are these just like spammed questions?
Spammed, I think.
Will infantry and ground vehicles be in game? And can we get something like external view in the mech? Yeah, some of these things I feel like, I thought were clear out there, but that's okay. So we don't have infantry. That's one thing we really wanted to get in, but something we ran out of time on. But there's definitely vehicles, all sorts of ground vehicles. We have lots of ground vehicles, potentially more than any past MechWarrior game. I haven't done exact tally, but it seems like we've got a lot of types and flyers too. Several types of VTOLs that fly in the air. And yes, there is a third-person camera in the game. In fact, I would say it's a very good third-person camera. We've spent a decent, pretty significant amount of time getting that in, getting it sorted, and making it very playable. So it's a very good way to watch yourself walk through buildings. No, I haven't put myself or anyone else in Easter eggs. I don't know. I think that's a luxury for big teams. For us, it takes every ounce of what we have to get this game out at the quality level we want to hit. Someone brings up Easter eggs, they're just going to get like yelled out of the boardroom because we're so busy finishing the game. I'm not going to talk about the Microsoft license in this public forum here right now. There might be a time for sample of the game music. I mean, that's awesome. I'm not going to do that for a couple reasons. One, just being, I don't have time to do that or think about that. But also, it is something that was sold with the pre-orders, like the digital deluxe copy. So there's value there. And I think that you're also, you've been getting samples, like bits and pieces of like the soundtrack kind of like in some of the trailers we've released. Like there's cuts of that. And you're going to continue to see that in the trailers that are coming out. So I think you'll be getting pieces and samples. And Sean's been putting a ton of work into it to make sure it's ready, not just for the game, but also like that soundtrack that people get, that it stands out. No, we don't have different gravity effects in the game. I think we've asked that before. It's just not something we've jumped on or felt we wanted to spend our. The demo's not it's not a prologue to the main story, and it's really not a test bed for major bugs. Like I said, it's really it's more of a marketing thing. It's more of a here, stream this, play this, get a feel for it, and have fun with it, and it gets a taste. Hopefully it's like this is just a tiny sample of a few scenarios of what the full game has. So if I'm really liking this and enjoying this and think this looks great, then um, you know hopefully that means that the full product is very appealing to people. I don't understand some of these questions. How much staff is planning to stay on at MechWarrior 5? Well, I guess you'd have to ask the staff. My intention is that they're all staying, but I can't answer. There is a time to complete mech repairs, but you can't speed it up by spending more. The repair time is the repair time. But there are some spins there that our game has that is kind of unique to our metagame, that not all repair times are equal in a way. So I'll just throw that little teaser. Yeah, so on content creators, so there is, only people that are getting the demo, of course, those that the community pre-order. But for marketing purposes, it's definitely possible that more of these demo keys are going out to content creators, influencers, people that at that point we're 2 weeks from launch. So the point is to generate as much hype as we can. So, but it'd be the same demo. It wouldn't be a different one or a separate one. There'll be other more uh, larger like paid influencer type stuff that could have full game access, but otherwise it. We've answered this adjustable difficulty. I guess not in the sense of an old school game where you pick like easy, medium, hard, extra hard. The game itself, we try to balance it as best we can throughout the campaign's reputation and the kind of equipment and everything that the player has. And there's extra challenge in the story missions. But it's not like some sort of dynamic AI or like system where it's like, depending how good you do, it's going to start adjusting itself or anything like that. It's a great question. How many patch updates we expect? At this point, I don't have that answer, but my expectation is that there's going to be an absolute bare minimum of at least 6 months of patch support for the game, and that just all depends on some external factors. One of them being just how the game is received. If it's very successful, I could see it being significantly longer than that, but at the very least, I think it's a bare minimum 6 months. I've already answered that about the demo. I mean, I guess obviously we feel like it wouldn't be better, that we think that getting word out too early can be detrimental, actually, instead of beneficial. It's like, oh my goodness, MechWarrior 5's out. No, it's not out, actually. It's just this demo. The game's not out for 5 more weeks. Oh, okay. I'm going to think about it in 5 weeks. Well, and then, this game and that game and everything comes out. And you remember the joke I made at MechCon? This is uncanny. I specifically mentioned, what do you call it? Red Dead Redemption 2. It just turns out that Red Dead Redemption 2 is actually shipping on PC on November 5th. So I guess I'm going to use that as an excuse, and I think it's kind of funny. I don't understand Blue Stride's question. Sorry, I'm not going to talk more about RTX yet. Any plans to reach out to some more salty members of the community? No. I'm sorry, big guy. I don't do that. Life is short. I've had enough of that. If they like what we're doing, they'll come. If they don't, that's fine. Epic is not the PR department. We use Tinsley PR, the same people we've used for MWO, and you've probably met her at some of the MechCons if you've been there. Yes, we plan on showing you newer gameplay. One of the plans is that we might release 2 full mission playthroughs starting in about November. So a couple of those in November. That's why I say November. Lots coming in November. What lineup of mechs? Oh, I'm not going to list it off right now, but there's like around 50 unique chassis along with their variants. So there's I don't know, 150 to 200 maybe variants altogether in the game. Purchasable MechWarrior 5 merch. No, I can't do that. I've never had the rights to be able to do that. The only time I've ever been able to I can give away free merch. Like if you do the pre-order thing, we didn't do physical stuff because it's just such a challenge. But we could, like in the case of like the community pre-order, give away like a T-shirt or something with your pre-order. We can do that, or a poster, but we can't just like sell a poster. Unfortunately, it's just the way things go.
Come to the launch party and get a MW5 T-shirt.
There you go. That's true. There you go. See, yeah. Love all the questions, Mad Mod. I know you're mad about everything, but exposure so far has been really great. Thank you. Really love the placement on the front page. Really think that's going to pay off nicely when we release. No, you can't fight on Terra for against Comstar, but maybe in the expansion pack. Any changes to computer system specs for PC? No. I do think we're sitting in a pretty good spot. I just saw again Red Dead Redemption 2's PC specs came out, and they were basically essentially what we set. A little more confirmation. You can play the game on something worse than the 770. I've done it. If you look up the specs, I've played the whole game on a 965M, which is like half of what a 770 is performance-wise. But that thing's like brutal, like not even worse than what you'd want it to look like on those specs. So I think our specs are sitting pretty solid. And again, our goal here is that when the game ships, your recommended spec PC with that 1070 card can play this game at as close to 60 frames per second as possible. And that's our goal. That's what we're pushing for. And I think we have a chance at hitting that. So that's certainly, I know I fired up MechWarrior Online recently and went in there. I was like, wow, this game doesn't have the greatest frame rate, does it? So we're keenly aware of that, and I think that there's no doubt that MechWarrior 5 is getting a lot more attention in that regard. But the specs I think they're holding what we said before. Thank you, Binary Fire. I appreciate that. No plans to go beyond 4 players. I mean, it was a single player game. We added co-op, but I mean, the only way that would happen if we'd go beyond that is if it's like a major expansion pack type thing, not like a 6-month expansion pack, but like an 18-month expansion pack where you are essentially turning MechWarrior 5 code base and rendering engine into MechWarrior Online 2 type of thing. 2-year development, possibly. Significant upgrade to kind of make. We've developed a multiplayer game called MechWarrior Online. We understand the effort it takes, so there'll be a massive undertaking. Never say never, but yeah, that's not just like a small patch or expansion pack type thing. Potential for VR support, yeah, we're still hopeful, but it's all post-release still. Recommended specs, I think those are up on the Epic Games Store page. Talks about a 1070 and such, I believe. Do we have min and recommended up there right now, Matt, or is it just recommended at the moment?
Just recommended. Or, yeah, I think it's just the minimum recommended. I'm going to check.
Okay, well, we're going to definitely finalize those soon and reconfirm them, but that's what they are. Voodoo 5, 5500. I don't remember that one, if that's a real card. I'm going to say no for safety's sake. I'm not going to answer some of these. Sometimes I just don't want to tell them about the game so much as spoil anything, but I'm not sure what that means, Death. Stun.
It's the minimum up there, Russ, not recommended yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, all right. Well, that's your minimum, so if you got better than that, you're being good shape. I just got reminded of another marketing effort we're doing that you guys are going to love too. That one could start before November. Initially, we were thinking mid-October, but I think it's going to be a little later than that. And there's quite a bit coming, guys. Lots in the works. Will there be any IS-325 mechs in MechWarrior 5 that aren't MWO? Oh, I don't think so. We haven't modeled any brand new mechs. That was one thing we really relied on from MWO. So I don't think that's... All mission chatter voiceover? Yes. I believe that's 100% true. Blue Stride. A great question. Yes, you can, actually, as a matter of fact. It's a single player game, do as you like. No live action actors. I'm personally not a fan to begin with, even if we had a budget and we wanted to do something like that. I do have some fond memories of the older games too, like you do, but I can find them to be sort of, I don't know, 90s style that people were into at the time. Full motion. Well, Uprising, I mean, I've answered this a few times, but I guess lastly, if I had a $3 million marketing budget, we might be doing things a little differently, but I think I've got a respectable marketing budget, but we gotta kind of put it into that final 4 or 5 weeks to make it work for us. I think it'd be okay. I think based on what I've seen with other games too. No quad mechs. No melee. We've answered that. No, not melee. Not initially. Yes, I do. No, you can't search for games on LAN. Oh wait, hang on a second. Can we search for games on LAN if I have a router, no internet? I think the answer is yes to that, Blood, but it's not like it's going to be something officially supported by us. It's not like we're going to go out of our way to test it and stuff. All I can say is that's what we did at MechCon with the 4 pods. We just connected them like LAN style, so it works. I don't know if, but I can't really commit to like when we get done and we ship this game and we've integrated the Epic Game Store stuff, like if that's still gonna work easily. I don't know. Can't commit to it, but it seems like with a peer-to-peer game, that kind of stuff, if you have enough technical know-how, is possible to do. Expansion packs, my wish list? Sure, it's in my wish list. Will we see factions within factions in the campaign? Yeah. Oh, let me see. Dutch. Not yes. The answer is yes. Not quite the examples you give, no, but there actually is, and there's yeah. I don't want to give too many things away, but yeah, you will see when you're inside the Davian space. It's not like you're just fighting for Davian. You're fighting for, and not just Creative 2 because that's the battle line. There's other factions on particular missions and whatnot that you fight for in those areas.
We just hit 11 o'clock, Russ.
Whoa, that went fast. Okay. Let's Are you guys sharing vehicle models with HBS? I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. No, we're not. I believe we've modeled all of our own vehicles. Okay, well, if I keep going, I'll never stop. So obviously we didn't have very many questions about the subjects at hand. And a lot less about, I guess it was just really clear, even the mech lab part. It's like if no one is even saying, please do that about the mech lab either. It's sort of just sort of a side note. Maybe just feel like it's, yeah, sure, whatever, great, do it. The party's the party, and the demo. I sense some frustration. I know certainly people had their calendars set, and I can appreciate that. I can just assure you, we're taking all these decisions very seriously, and we feel like we're doing the best thing in the best way we know how, and we'll see. When it's all said and done, we can all judge how things went, and so this is the way we're going to approach it. There's a lot of benefits to it. You can stream it. Gives us more time to make sure it's ready to be seen. There's just a lot of reasons why we think it'll push into the marketing campaign the best without losing momentum, hopefully. So hopefully you will get over the fact that it's a few extra weeks down the road, but you'll have the ability to stream it and no restrictions, and appreciate all the questions. And I look forward to talking to everyone again at 6 o'clock tonight, whether that's same people, different people. Thank you for coming out. Well, I think 6:01, so I guess we can get into it.
Mm-hmm.
We might have a lot of same people sharing that were here, this morning, but to see more people online. So there are some people that weren't here earlier. So we're going to go over kind of a list of announcements, essentially, and then most of that information is probably disseminated. So maybe I won't stay on it quite as long as I did, and we can jump into the questions. And maybe we won't go the full hour if there's not that many questions that are kind of centered on the announcements. I think this morning turned into a bit of a general AMA. But anyhow, let's try it. So first off, some news about the closed beta, the community pre-order closed beta. So I know we had announced that we anticipated that beta was going to take place on November 5th. But as we approached that date, it became clear that there were some challenges or sort of problems with it. One, it was far enough away from the game's launch date that it really wasn't gonna allow us to sort of use it as marketing momentum. And there's quite a long time, 5 weeks from that point to the rest of it. But also, when you're thinking about marketing, there's a challenge, I guess, and people wanted to stream this closed beta, and due to some other things that I really can't go into right now with the rest of the marketing plan, when it comes to how we're showing the game and who's showing the game and when they're showing it, this was kind of a challenge to have maybe the closed beta being streamed 5 weeks out. So we started to discuss a plan and think about a plan to move it much closer to the game's release. And then that would allow us, because the priority here was to allow the players to stream the closed beta, because it's a good thing, right, to show it and to market the game based on that. So it became clear that in order to do that, to make it kind of fit in with the rest of the game's marketing plan, we had to move the closed beta up. And so the November 26th is the date that we've decided on, and it's absolutely positively the final date. It makes sense for a lot of reasons. A lot of them I can't really get into when it comes to how it relates to the rest of the marketing plan. So the closed beta MechWarrior 5 demo is moved from November 5th to November 26th. But the good news is there won't be any NDA that needs to be signed. You'll be able to stream it without any restrictions, and there really will be no expiry on this demo. It'll go kind of live forever. So that's the big announcement, the big news. I think some good and some not so good there. I mean, everyone wants to play it right away, so that's not exciting. But the fact that you can stream it, there's really no restrictions, I think is worth it. Um, a couple other things. Small note about the launch party. Just want to make sure it's clear to people what it is. And I think the announcement page did a pretty good job with that. But said, yeah, just be aware. This is definitely this is not MechCon. It's not a 2-day event. It's going to be a 1-day event and probably even shorter than the MechCon 1-day event. Early afternoon to mid afternoon through to midnight, 1 in the morning. So a good length party, maybe even upwards of 8 hours type of thing. And what it is it is a launch party. It's kind of like the Steam launch party we had about 4 years back. It's primarily a staff launch party, staff and their significant others and partners. But also we wanted to share this with as many people as possible, because it does represent, up to 4 years for some people in the studio worked on MechWarrior 5 and shipping it. And that's so hard and so challenging. It's worth celebrating. And also, it happens to be our 20-year anniversary as a company, which is pretty remarkable. And we really enjoyed celebrating our 15-year anniversary. So we're kind of lumping them together. We're going to have it on that last day before the staff, heads off on Christmas break on December 20th. And the location's great. We got the entire 3rd floor of the amazing, Vancouver Convention Center. You can see it in the screenshot there, like that top floor, that smaller top floor, the 3rd floor. We have the entire thing for the party. Got a great deal by the VCC, and there's so much room. We want to share this with people, this 20-year anniversary and this launch party. So we're going to be inviting a lot of people from around Vancouver, a lot of the other studios, just everybody. And we also thought we want to open this up to at least 100, people that are, fans of our games and have enjoyed our games over the years and would like to come and really just kind of hang out with us. There won't be any kind of big MechCon type stuff. There won't be, any big stage moments. There'll probably be a minor, mic moment for myself or something, but this isn't like broadcast or streamed or anything like that. Primarily, it's like catered dinner and a late night snack and open bar and good music and good company, and really just having a great time together. And really, we're just only charging $25 for the tickets that people want to come, just because the catering and the open bar and everything is significantly more than that per person. It's just really about making sure that if someone says they want to come and they're going to take one of these spots, we want to make sure that they're actually planning on coming. And so we've opened up to 100 friends of the show, so to speak, and it's a possibility we could expand that if things go. And so far they've gone really quickly, by the way, faster than I thought they would. So you might not want to come all the way from Germany for an 8-hour party, but maybe it'll be more people that are closer. But we look forward to having anybody who wants to come, and it'd be great. Lastly, we've been thinking about another small change to the Mech Lab. It's in debate internally in the studio. It's been proposed to me that we should allow smaller hardpoint weapons to fit into larger size ones. So, for example, small laser could go into a medium laser spot. So small energy hardpoint into a medium energy hardpoint, or small into a large energy hardpoint, or medium into a large energy hardpoint. So it can always go up, like a smaller one going into the other one. But you can't inflate. It's just because it's a medium energy hardpoint, you can't put like 2 small ones in it, for example. It'll just still be one. But it just allows a little more flexibility. When we looked at certain builds, the Kentaro came to mind, and we said, well, there's all these medium hardpoints, medium missile, medium energy. It's a little bit, there's not a lot you can do there. You can go, from pulse to not pulse, or Artemis to not, or something. But this will allow you to then say, well, this thing runs hot. Let's pull these SRM6s out, put some 4s in there, get some extra heat sinks and armor and stuff. So it doesn't add like tons of new possibilities, but it does offer more. And I think it's simple for us to make the change. It should be bug free and smooth, and so we're considering it strongly. I'm going to kind of try to make the final call on that in the next couple of days. So there's that. Final thing I did want to mention about modding. I know there's a lot of people out there really interested in modding, and I'm so excited for that. I hope it's got a really active mod scene, and we're going to try to do anything we can to support that. Having said that, I would like to have at least one more AMA next month, and have that be about modding, and just in general what to expect around launch. So I would say, right at launch, it's still our goal to have the editor, packaged up and available day one. But as we get closer, I start to realize that could be a little bit optimistic. Packaging up the editor and everything obviously has some chicken and egg things where game kind of has to be done. You don't want to put a lot of bandwidth into this, or it'll be patching the editor and like a lot of time. So it might make a lot more sense for us to get the game completely 100% locked down, finished, and then get everything packaged up and sorted and up on the Epic Game Store, and get everything figured out. So I don't know what the chances are that they're the very first day, but it'll be our goal to get it up there as soon as we possibly can, post-release. Still committed to doing that for sure. So anyhow, those are kind of 4 topics I wanted to get out there. Obviously, the main announcement was around the demo and the new date for the demo, and the fact that you can stream it. And the other things are little nice to knows. And so I mostly want to talk about those subjects here tonight. We're gonna open up the channel. I'm gonna be a little more. I have a hard time skipping over questions. I like to answer things, but I'm gonna play it by ear. But I'm gonna try to stick to these questions, and I'm not sure we'll go right till 7 or not. But let's go ahead, Tina, and fire it up.
All right.
Raining fire. So the way the random generation system works in MechWarrior 9, or MechWarrior 9, and MechWarrior 5 is when you generate a scenario, like with the scenario generator that would be in the full game in Instant Action, in the end you end up creating a key. And that key basically says, well, here's all the variables to exactly recreate this scenario. So our plan for the demo is to come up with some of these scenarios. So they will be set. Those things wouldn't change. The biomes, mission types, all that stuff would be set. Enemies and stuff would potentially be a little different. I'd have to ask. I think that's still set too, but because basically the map has a battle value associated with it, and the battle value is spread out among turrets, tanks, VTOLs, mechs, so on and so forth. And but that should be set. So the idea here is that for the demo, it's giving a real taste of the game. And obviously we want that to be, don't have a lot of variability in it. This is the first time people have seen it. It's a 2-week demo. They're going to be live streaming it. We want it to, basically be a best
foot forward of an experience of what MechWarrior 5 is like. Obviously, with the real scenario generator and the full game, you can get, I mean, countless, variations of maps to play and missions to play. So I really think people are going to find that that is a powerful feature when the game releases. They're going to like the campaign and everything for sure, but I mean, I could see people, playing the scenario generator for years. MechLab here. How about only allow upscale weapons only one step? So I'm not sure if you're asking that question because you're maybe a little bit against what I suggested in that, and you want to restrict it a little more than what I suggested, or perhaps maybe you didn't know about the announcement I just said and that you're going to be able to do that. So you are going to be able to take a small laser and go into a medium energy hardpoint if we make this change. Um, but if we do make this change, I believe it would we wouldn't put another rule in place that says you can't take two steps or something. That's probably a step of logic. It's not necessary. You can go up. So that's small. If you want to tie up an entire large energy hardpoint with a small laser, I think you could do that as well. It sounds like the metagame is going to involve a decent amount of travel between systems. With that in mind, is the travel experience smooth and fast? My concern is, so, Battletech had kind of long cutscenes. Yeah, no, this is a very good question. In fact, we tried to be very careful about making sure that MechWarrior 5 was a MechWarrior game, and it's an action game, and it's a first-person shooter, third-person shooter, not a turn-based strategy or game. I guess not strategy, but a turn-based game. So you do travel quite a lot, and I would say system to system travel is. Well, I don't know if it's more frequent, but I feel like it's more frequent. I think you're going to travel a lot more in our game than you ever did in Battletech. Um, I only played and finished a campaign in Battletech once, so I could be wrong on that. Someone could have a different opinion, but you travel the entire map of the inner sphere over the course of the game, essentially. And yes, our travel sequences are quite efficient. So um, we do have two different cutscenes, essentially. Um, the longer one you'll see very rarely, probably maybe only a few times throughout the game. Most of the time you'll see the shorter one. The shorter one is a fairly quick, I would say maybe 10 seconds. And the reason you're seeing it even for that 10 seconds is because that's when all the system generation happens. So play this quick 10-second cutscene, and what it's doing is it's generating the star map of what missions are where the markets are, where the black markets are, everything like that. And so it's pretty quick. It's really efficient. It definitely you feel, I think, pretty. And then when you travel on missions inside of a system, so you're not traveling via jump ship, but if you're just traveling via drop ship within a system to various contracts within a system, there's no travel cutscenes there. You'll just do your drop screen with your lances and stuff, and you'll drop right in. Maybe do the dropship landing, turn, exit the dropship. Sometimes you'll just zone right into the map, but within the system there's no cutscenes and cutscenes. It's just really only when you use the jump ship, and you see the shorter one most of the time, just as long as it needs to generate this. Great idea to change it to MechLab when we get the game key for the demo and be able to download it. I'm just going to say November 26th for now. I don't know that you're going to be able to pre-download it. My understanding is that Epic Game Store does have a bit of that now. Like some games are starting to come online that have pre-download. I think Borderlands 3 did. But I do think it took quite a bit of kind of extra effort to get it to that point. I don't know if we'll be able to do that or have the time to do that or make that happen. So I guess worst case scenario, the key could go out sooner. I would expect this key is going to go out, sooner than the 26th. Maybe you'll even have it, a week in advance. But as far as plugging in and downloading, let's just say the 26th to be safe. No, we just have the Union and the Leopard in our game for dropships. This is cool. Screaming Blood likes the controls for MWO. I just played the old MechWarrior games, preparation Mech 5. The controls are horrible. Hit the thank you. It looks just like it. You can tell us a bit more on the controls in Mech 5, are closer to the MWO, and where they work different. Okay, thanks for the compliments, and I agree. And this kind of touches on kind of a larger subject that maybe we'll talk about just for fun. I would say that obviously, we've been working on MechWarrior 9 for like 8 years, and like the same people made MechWarrior 5, so controls are pretty similar. I would say they're very similar. The biggest differences would be that MechWarrior 5 in general is going to play a little slower because in MechWarrior Online things have kind of like you can call it power creep or whatever, but like between the quirks and the skill tree and the ability to upgrade your engines and go to XL engines and everything in the game now is it's hard to find a mech that isn't moving along right at 20 kilometers an hour faster than its stock variant or something. So that won't be the case here. So things are moving along more of a measured pace and more stock cannon and that feel. So everything's feel a little bit heavier, a little bit bulkier, and then as you're moving along, feeling a little bit heavier with your pacing and sound effects and whatnot. And then as you just slowly walk right through a building, these are things that just give MechWarrior 5 such a different feel compared to MechWarrior 9. But control wise, I'd say they're very similar. And you bring something up that I've been thinking a lot about. It's like with this feeling of the past MechWarrior games. Well, those past MechWarrior games that were so incredible and they were so huge for all of us that grew up with them. And it's that age old thing of like someone asking me like, well, how good do you think MechWarrior 5 will be? Like, do you think it'll be good? Do you think how do you think it'll be compared to the past games? Or, do you think it'll be the best one or something like that? And it's such a tough question because it's like, it'll both simultaneously, you know, for sure be the best one. And then at the same time, in the same breath, there's no chance, it'll have no chance to be compared to the past ones. And it's because nostalgia is such a powerful thing and when you look at a game and how good it was, it's very little to do with like how it plays now, right? I mean, if you go play MechWarrior 2 now, it's very simple. It's very simplistic, and you would say, yeah, like these modern games are far superior in almost any imaginable way. But it's what they meant to us at the time, right? I mean, MechWarrior 2 at the time like changed the PC gaming industry. It doubled the size of Activision, and there's no way that we'll hit those kind of lofty standards in that respect. So I think it'll both be better and also at the same time have no chance to be anywhere near as impactful. So yeah, those older games, the controls and things, every aspect of it is just you can just see how far we've come with our engine technology and game design and how far games have come in general and how much further the bar has been raised. So glad you enjoy those games, and you should enjoy MechWarrior 5 a lot if you like MechWarrior. Excited for the MechLab customization. What are kind of bugs do you think it could introduce? I don't think it should introduce any bugs. If I did think it was going to introduce some, I would just not do it, not for initial release. So we do have a weapon system. I'm not going to necessarily, will I? Manufacturers, less so much that as the weapons do have essentially there's levels, and I'll leave it at that. And so there's weapons do become more powerful as you move along through the game along. So that's another way that you do get to kind of increase your power, not just through getting more tonnage of mechs and better mechs, but also quality of the weapons that are on those mechs and the quality of weapons you're salvaging and stuff like that. Sorry, just bummed. Hang on a second. You had us at open bar. Love it. Yes. Well, sign up. Happy to see you there. Bummed that the demo got delayed. No, I get it. I feel you. Starting equipment really doesn't vary. Yeah, that's it's hard to explain when you're the main campaign that we've developed. I can't really say anything without giving it away, but like the campaign of the game starts a certain way. So, and then of course, I think the game now, whether it's through patches or official DLC releases or Mods, there'll be other campaigns with different starting factors, and kind of there's no real limit. Older MechWarrior games only offered harder missions at the size time went by. Well, MechWarrior 5 let us run missions that are beneath our rank drop percentage. A little bit, yeah. There's a bit of a range in the what we call war zones, and not massive differences, but there are some that are kind of pushing your limits, and some that are a little bit where you were a bit ago. And you have such freedom in the star map, like you might see that you're a reputation 5, but you've uncovered a reputation 6 war zone. Nothing's stopping you from flying over there in your jump ship and drop ship and taking on missions of the Rep 6 missions if you think you're ready for it. So there's quite a bit of freedom in that way, a lot compared to past games. Can you enable a free cam in the demo? I'm sure some of us could make some good content if it's available. Now that's an interesting comment. Not only do we have a basic debug fly cam, but we've actually enabled a fairly sophisticated cinematic camera that what the trailer company is using to create the official trailers for the game, and it's pretty legit. Like you can attach it to a VTOL as it flies around and film everything. So I just can't promise. I don't know what's going to be available in the demo. I don't know what to say about that, but we have those things. So just to tease you and make you say, "Well, I want them." I don't know for sure if I'm going to give them to you in the demo though. That's something I'll have to follow up with the guys about. How was the mercenary company management structure? Is it detailed like the Biotech mercenaries campaign system with cost of mech, maintenance, ammunition, support staff, link to the merc system? Is it fully co-op? So it is quite similar to Biotech. You definitely have the cost of your mechs. As you get more mechs, that cost of your mech upkeep gets larger, and the bigger the mechs, the more mechs, the more pilots you have, the more staffing costs you have, um, and you and then of course repairs when you have damaged mechs, and there's travel. Did Biotech charge you for travel? I don't remember. Maybe they did. Sorry, I don't remember. But there's travel costs, um, and so that's I think fairly similar. I think it's done just a little differently. Of course, it's done a little more action shooter way, like in that. Um, the way your pilots skill up is just through like natural action in the levels. Like if they hit people with missiles and lasers, then those skills are going up. And when you come back, you're going to see how they went up and say, okay, he got better in those ways. It's not, not like more like an RPG element where you're spending the points and stuff like that. But yeah, a lot of management. It's um, managing the entire aspect of where you go and travel costs and staff costs and mech costs and everything like that. And co-op is you can play it in the campaign. Um, you can do it in instant action, of course, but in the campaign you can. Just that, again, remember first and foremost, this is a single player game, so you have to look at the co-op like that. It's like if you're playing your campaign and you want your guys to come play with you, you can, which is really cool. You just say, "Oh, hey, come play with me," meaning he's going to come into your campaign, and when he comes into your campaign, he's going to take the place of one of your AI pilots. So John Edwards, or whatever the name of your pilot is, he's going to be John Edwards. You're going to say, okay, you're him. You're going to go on this mission. You're going to be him, and you're going to pilot this mech. And he comes along and plays that as though he's that AI pilot. So it's pretty restrictive in that way, though. Like, don't expect, like he's playing, and then that means he's got his campaign going at the same time, and like he's going to go into your screen and spend your money. No, really, you're just saying, hey, come on, man, come over and help me. You guys are going to come over here and play my AI pilots, and we're going to, knock out some of these missions. You're going to help me out in my campaign, that sort of thing. Otherwise, you can go to instant action, and everyone can, pick their own mech and pick their own kind of persona and go into the mech lab and, deck out whatever you want and go out in missions together. Um, Question about MechWarrior 2 Mercs on the ice ship. Everything on our game is on a planet. Yeah, I like those ideas, but I think we're just I think we put so much into developing our our generation system that it was just so much work that we never really thought, hey, let's just go on a ship, bringing it home and making all this work well took all of our time. Um, Difficulty level based on tweaking gameplay, like heat management, ammo management. Sounds like mod stuff to me, and I would just say not at launch. Um, Not at launch from us, but a lot of those things seem like low hanging fruit for modding. Um, and if there's a cheat code given for our debug menu, there's lots of stuff in there to play with too. Um, yeah, how much variety is there in AI types, different personalities in your merc affect how they would behave? Um, yes. It's kind of two different questions. The AI types kind of more applies to the enemies, I think, and the type of mechs they're running and the skill level of the pilots. And so, are they, running gun or, like circle strafing or staying at range and using their weapons? And there's a bunch of things that come into play there based on the mech they're piloting and the type of weapons on that mech. As far as your own pilots go, it's mostly just about the skill levels that they have. And the game is made in such a way that our game's a little different in that way that you're going to be much more motivated in MechWarrior 5 Mercenaries than past games to actually actively shop for pilots and replace existing pilots, whether they're injured, dead, or even just you just want to get rid of them because they're not very good. Because a lot of our guys have a natural. Not everyone has the potential of you know Sidney Crosby, right? There's some guys that top out, and these are my Canadian examples, but like they're going to be a fourth line slug no matter what. And I think we've kind of put that into pilots. It's like they have certain natural talents, and you can tell when you get a pilot that what his skill levels are, but you kind of see where he's gonna cap out. And so you're gonna be getting these guys. Some will get injured, some will get hurt, but some just aren't that good, and they never really will be. They can kind of max out their potential, but hit their ceiling, so to speak. And then you might go and say, okay, well, this guy's better. He's got a much higher ceiling. Let's rate it. Let's take him. So I think there's going to be a little more. There's more of that in our game than other games. You don't just get attached to these 7 names and hell or high water. You're going to save load scum to keep these guys alive. I think that's a lot less pressure to do that in this case because um, there's always someone out there that has a higher ceiling. Maybe towards the end of the game, you've got guys that all have the potential to be like top elite. It'd be a lot different. Um, no infantry people showing. Yeah, there was a person in that trailer, wasn't there? It was mostly the guy playing around. I don't think you'll see any humans. Although, yeah, maybe you will. Just for like, oh, look at that. Just little guys walking around. The demo will not be available to the general public, only for you guys that have the community pre-order. It's possible that we will also send out, some keys to um, promoters, influencers, just people that during this this beta period to drive awareness. But that's a very small number compared to other pre-order people. I understand MechWarrior, 2009 MechCon 2019, and there's a launch party this year. But can we look forward to MechCon 2020? Um, I hope so. I can't answer that now. That's some of that question's outside of my control. Um, MechCon has been 100% a Piranha Games endeavor and 100% a Piranha Games expense, and we funded 3 years of them, and they got bigger every year, both the number of people that came and the size of the show. And it kind of depends. I've said this before. Like, we got to ship MechWarrior 5, and I think the reception of MechWarrior 5 is going to determine a lot of stuff. It's going to determine everything from like, you know, how many games MechWarrior games are going forward to if there'll be more events like that. So we'll see. Uh, I'm not going to answer that one, Giamma, because I think that might give away too much. That's kind of similar to the next one, branching campaign. Same answer there. I will just say, yeah, there are some there are choices. Choosing a side, and I'll say. I'm just I haven't officially changed the name of it yet. The closed beta / demo. I guess I've in general, I would say no. It doesn't make sense to do two different ones. That's really inefficient. And I don't necessarily, there's no way I could. I've said a million times that the only people that are going to get early access to it is the people that did the community pre-order. So going back on that would be a much bigger faux pas than doing what you're saying, I think. So no, we're going to limit it to just the community pre-order people, and it'll have to be on the 26th. No drop pod entry missions. No, I like that though. We had lots of these ideas. Sometimes you just run out of time, and it's just like, well, not an initial release. And maybe when we do this big first DLC, that's a part of it. Mech list. One of the more popular questions we've had over like 8 months. Pretty big. So you're looking at 3015 to like 3049, and any mechs from MWO that fit in that, essentially, minus a few for some bits and pieces that we don't have in the game. So I think it's somewhere around 50 chassis, and they could have anywhere from, I guess, 4 or 5 variants each. So it's close to 200, because there's all those plus some heroes. 200 variants total. An orbital invasion from the ground. Well, there's going to be dropships bringing in enemies to fight. So they're coming in, dropping off mechs to fight. So it's kind of like in-game friend list, like the one in MWO. There actually will be. So it's very simple, but for the purposes of playing co-op, there will be a little custom, to MechWarrior 5 button that has a friends list, and that's going to be, people from Epic Games Store friends list functionality, and that'll be fill out your list, and then that's how you'll do your peer-to-peer invites for co-op. So imagine due to the time period, things will be the same for the first 20% of the campaign. I guess it depends what you mean by the same. I don't think so. If by the same you mean fighting in the same area of the Innisphere, I suppose. So you do start in Davian space, but that gives you the ability to fight for Davian or Karita, or there's a whole other bunch of factions involved. So plus there's the story campaign and stuff. So I'm not really sure I understand the question, but it depends what you're referring to, I suppose. Dropships are closer to MWO, but there are moments where they do help out. Had some mission ideas to do more with the dropships. So they're around. They do drop you off. They do drop off enemies close to MWO. There are moments where they are helping you. I'd like to go explore a little deeper with that dropship stuff, but we might have to do some of that post-release. Can we take generated contracts forever once we hit 3049? The answer is yes, you can. And in fact, you're probably going to finish the storyline. It's not going to necessarily take right to 30 and 49 to finish the campaign. It depends on the player, but the campaign could get finished a fair bit before that, and then you just carry on and carry on and carry on. And then who knows? Maybe post-release will also just release another mode, just called freeform mode, that just kind of, you don't have to play the campaign at all. You just move along. Someone brought that up this morning, but yeah, you can. Now I'm getting questions based on stuff I've already said a few minutes ago, so that means we must be finished. Does the November 26th demo include co-op? I mean, that's the plan. Yes. There's a lot in this AI question. I'm not going to be able to tackle all of it. Um, I'll just quickly touch on bits of it. So you say, will their scouts spot for LMs? Well, I don't know about that, but I guess I'd say they are aware of their weapons, and we were talking about hull down and stuff like that. There are several different behaviors, primary and secondary behaviors for mechs, and you will find that they behave very differently. So I think one of the better examples of that in the game now we play is you see a Locust 1V and they're just buzzing around and they are a nuisance, and you're trying to kill these things just like da, 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 and then you're next thing you know, there's another one out in the hills at like I don't know, like 500 meters out, and it's one of those double LRM5 locusts, and it's just like kiting you with LRMs. So you get that. So it's not just like they're always buzzing around your feet all the time, no matter what, kind of thing. They will behave. That's one of the better examples of like a locust behaving in two entirely different ways. Um, AI pilots will eject if they get to a point where they're even if they're just fully on like they're pogo sticked, essentially they're zombie, they got nothing left, they're just gonna punch out. Otherwise, they just kind of run around and get shot forever. Um, there are situations, if some mission types where there are some friendlies on your side as well. So you drop into a situation where there's already a unit or some mechs, maybe some turrets, maybe even some VTOLs that are in the middle of something, and they're all like already severely damaged, and you're coming in to fight. So there's some of that too. Yeah, I think that's about it. That's it. Yes, on the mech thing. There's been just so yeah, yes, Gears faction. Essentially, yes, splash damage. Um, wandering around your mech bay. There was other designs that do other things, but like the development time to like just have a co-op player involved in sharing your screens, but maybe not letting them like screw up your campaign is so complex that like those are not things that we're willing to take time on prior to the game's release. So basically, yes, that's pretty much it. They're going to be in a very basic way, just sort of hanging around, waiting, and then they're ready to go when you are again. That was splash damage I answered, and then Alien Pickle got the check mark. Let's see. Um, can friends customize their mech? The host is responsible, but um, in instant action, everyone can, even like there's going to be a host still. Someone's going to host the instant action game. Then there's 3 friends. Everyone in that situation can choose their mech and go to the mech lab and paint their mech and do everything they want. Your lance mates won't inject unless they are crippled. I mean, their mech is crippled. Mech is crippled in the ways that they use. And no, the player can't eject. Player's mech is destroyed. That's a mission over. And except in a co-op situation, we're going to wait for the last human player to die. Otherwise, you're spectating. So your mech's destroyed. You're spectating. So yeah, I think that answers. No, you can't call them the long time strikes. Sounds cool. Post release. That's my catch-all. If you die, can your team complete the mission? Yeah, you don't die. The player never dies. That's kind of a rule of the single player experience. Your mech can be destroyed, but you don't die. And your team can complete it if they're humans, if you're in a co-op situation. But if you're in a single player game, pure and simple, and you've got 2 AI pilots still, their mechs are still functional, they're still alive. No, in that situation, we're gonna mission over. There's no way we want to get into a situation and trying to make a couple AI pilots complete like an objective raid mission. That's a bit optimistic. So in that situation, you would be done. But if you had a friend playing with you, yeah, you could spectate and see if he could manage. Yes, mechs are released along with the timeline. Text in-game chat. We've been discussing it, but honestly, it's kind of a waste of development time. Like, I'm sorry, that might sound harsh, but like these types of features sound small, but they take a lot. And this isn't MWO. Like, this isn't a PvP game. This is single player. Maybe even like 80% of people playing this game is going to play single player. If they do play co-op, they're going to use TeamSpeak or Discord or a billion other things to communicate with each other. So, and it'd be different if this was the type of game where there was like MechWarrior Online, where it was like there's a matchmaker, right? And there's a server, and you're put into a matchmaker pool, and you're matched up with somebody. But that's not the case here. The only people you're going to play co-op with is people that you know that are on your friends list in Epic Game Store, and you're going to add them, and you're going to be like, "Oh, hey, bud, let's play." Um, so you'll jump into your own voice channel and whatnot. I don't think there's any variants in here that aren't in MWO, not in this release anyhow. I don't know, Lumbering Troll. Let's save that for November, but I think you can get pretty intricate. I'm definitely not going to try to figure out what systems are hard coded or not, but I mean, obviously, I would suggest there's very little that's hard coded. And anyhow, yeah, I think that's the best. Do have some big influencers in mind, but not going to let on anymore. Yeah, if sales are good, I think there's definitely going to be a pulse release plan for sure. So we'll be ready to action on that. Right? Discord used as a matchmaker. I mean, only in that you can talk to your buddies on Discord channel, whichever Discord you're a part of, and say, "Oh, hey, here's my name on Epic Game Store. Let's invite each other as friends and play co-op together." Sure, do that. That sounds good. Yeah, difficulty being that the demo at MechCon, the game was not very difficult. How would you judge difficulty? I would agree. I would say it's not very difficult. I would say it's quite easy. Um, but obviously, we made that from MechCon, right? So we wanted to make sure that frustration's low. Frustration's low. Even though it's MechCon, there's a bunch of MechWarrior players there. You still have others that you don't want to walk up and just be frustrating. So definitely erred on the side of easy, especially since we're going with the super pod as well. People are using joysticks and a bunch of stuff. So, yeah, right now at the current game, I'm worried it's a little hard, to be honest. So we're still very heavily balancing. That's one thing that's still in full bore: bug fixing and balancing all aspects from battle value, the amount of enemies, to the enemy's accuracy, to their behaviors, and also you the player, the aggro system. So there's so many things to balance, and it's a very difficult thing. But I would say right now I'm almost worried that the real game is too hard. So it's a challenge. But I would say that you're not gonna. Well, I don't know you. Maybe you will think it's too easy. But yes, the MechCon demo was very easy. Screenshots of the Mech Lab and Mech UI in November. Friendly or your unit's aerotech not. So there are some friendly air-based VTOLs, and those are some of those gameplay situations where there's existing friendly mechs on the field as you join the fight, and then not just friendly mechs, but in some cases like a VTOL as well. Post-release, would you add new mechs concurrently for MechWarrior 5 and NWO? Well, if things go well and we get to a point where we're going to make new mechs, I would say yeah, probably we would try to be as efficient as possible with that. We'd probably try to put them in both. All right, I'm like getting really caught up here in the questions, so as soon as I get caught up, I'm done. Big emphasis mine, Angry Joe. Yeah, I mean that's cool. I've seen some of his stuff. He seems to get a lot of. Yeah, spectating is pretty similar to MWO in that way. Think of it very simply. It's you're spectating in, I believe, Actually, I'm not even positive at this moment if it's third person or first person. So, but yes, official forums for MW5. I don't think there will be, whether. I don't know if there will be. We got this Discord. Maybe we open that up. Have they watched Razor Fist Thoughts on MechWarrior 5? I don't know what that means, Mad Ben. No, you were here this morning and you don't seem to have a lot of positive things. Yes, F1 through F5 basically. It's very similar to past Mech. In that regard, we did not blow our brains out. I mean, you're not going to be doing this is not a squad-based, strategy game. It's pretty simple. It's like, follow me, attack my target, go to that location, hold your fire, and quick F1 for attack your target, that kind of thing. There is a third-person camera. It's very good, I think. Spent a good amount of time on it. It's got a nice offset, like modern third-person games. Very playable. Very good for new users to play the game and understand the concepts. But I like doing it because it's pretty impressive to be walking through like a 5-story building and just crumbling right through it when you're in third person. Yeah. I'm not going to give you a hint on that marketing thing because that would just totally give it away without a hint. Sorry, but yeah, something. Yeah, Gauss Driver was pretty sweet looking. In fact, it's got an effect on it now that's might be a little over the top, but it's really has a pretty cool sound. And then there's like this distortion, almost like a sounder, like heat distortion wave that kind of comes in front of you and kind of almost obscures you for a bit long, possibly. So we're playing around with that, but I noticed that today. It was pretty impressive. Thanks, Darth. Appreciate that. Amount of crosshair bobbing. Oh, boy, I think I know what you mean. I don't know. I don't notice it anymore. As far as when you're walking, I'm gonna say no. That. Thanks, Hefe. Thanks, guys. Okay, cool. You guys are the best. Appreciate your questions tonight. Sorry you have to wait a few extra weeks to play the demo. I do think it's best for, just exposure and the marketing and the potential success of the game. And, I'm glad you guys are going to be able to stream it, though. We're putting everything we have in this game now to make it live up to what you guys hope it to be. So, could never live up to your mind's eye. Obviously, that's impossible, but hopefully we'll come as close as we can. Yeah, there's night vision raining fire. We had thermal. I cut it recently because it sucked and it didn't really come in useful. So we have night vision for sure. Maybe we go thermal pulse release. Okay, cool, guys. Thanks again. We're 9 minutes short, but I'm just gonna head out. Canucks game. Go Canucks.
Thank you guys for coming out for the second session.